In 1839, the Spanish ship La Amistad departed from Havana, Cuba, carrying 53 enslaved Africans, when an African aboard the ship named Joseph Cinque freed himself and the other captives, creating a mutiny that ultimately resulted in the freedom of all the enslaved Africans on La Amistad. Beginning in Sierra Leone, the Portuguese ship Tecora captured and carried a large number of the Mende people as slaves illegally across the Atlantic Ocean. This was significant because the Atlantic slave trade had already been abolished in 1808, causing the Tecora to have to hide its illegal cargo from British patrol ships. After successfully making it to Cuba, two men named Jose Ruiz and Pedro Montes purchased 53 slaves and boarded them onto La Amistad to be traded further in the Caribbean. However, La Amistad never made it to the plantation because of the mutiny that took place on July 1st, 1839. During the mutiny, Joseph Cinque and other enslaved Africans managed to free themselves, seize whatever weapons were available to them, likely sugarcane knives, and fight for their freedom. This resulted in the death of the Amistad's captain, cook, and two Africans. The Africans then forced Ruiz and Montes to sail back to Africa, since they did not know how to sail. However, under the cover of night, Ruiz and Montes secretly altered the course to sail north towards the United States, sabotaging the Africans' return to home and hoping to get noticed by a British or American patrol ship. After a couple hard months of sailing with little drinking water, the Amistad was eventually captured off the coast of Long Island, New York, and towed to land by the U.S. Washington. Initially, the Africans were arrested and charged with murder and mutiny, but this event gained significant local attention and the case eventually went to court. During the court case, many different parties argued over what should be done with the Africans that were aboard La Amistad. First, the President of the United States, Martin Van Buren, aligned with Spain and argued that they should be returned to Cuba to await trial, since they were supposedly Spanish citizens. Second, Ruiz and Montes argued that the Africans were their property, as they had purchased them in Cuba. Third, Lieutenant Thomas Gedney argued that he should gain at least some property, since he had saved Ruiz's and Montes's chattel property after they had lost it during the mutiny, which was in accordance with salvage rights at the time. Lastly, but certainly not least, the Africans and the Amistad Committee, a committee of abolitionists that helped raise money for the Africans, argued for their freedom and their paid voyage back to Sierra Leone. Ultimately, the Connecticut court decided in favor of the Africans, but the case was appealed up to the Supreme Court. Once there, former President and staunch abolitionist lawyer John Quincy Adams defended the Africans, winning them the case at the highest United States court. This case was incredibly significant for United States history, as it spurred and popularized the abolitionist movement in the North prior to the Civil War and ultimately helped end slavery worldwide.